All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, and Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and others of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. All right, I'm the brother Yashar. I just want to get into a quick topic through the spirit and power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Yahweh being the most high, who you only call God, through his only begotten Son, who you only call Jesus Christ. His name is Yahweh Shah, two so called black men. All right, and then I'll probably title this our enemies will not go unpunished. All right, our enemies will not go unpunished. And let me just get the first scripture. This is Revelation 13 and verse 9, and it reads, if any man have an ear, let him hear. You know, we on earth as humans, we all got ears on our body, but it's talking about a spiritual ear to understand, what the scriptures is saying. So it said, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And who led us into captivity? All right. The so-called white man chiefly. You know, the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, the devil that the Bible speaks of, the Edomites. They led us into captivity via the transatlantic slave trade, you know, and they was in cahoots with other nations, all right, as far as Ishmael, the Arabs, and Ham, the so-called Ham, the so-called Africans, they had a part in it as well. They put, you know, they laid in bed with these damn devils to bring you Israelites into slavery, you know. So it says, "He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity." So these people that led us into captivity, they're gonna go into captivity. And what's captivity? Slavery, you know, hardcore slavery. Them having yokes of iron on their necks, and so on and so forth. Their families getting split up. Them getting sold into auction blocks. That's what's coming. That's the prophecies. That's in the scriptures. This is Revelation. You know, it says, "He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword." All right. When Christopher Cologne, all right, or Cristobal Colon, Christopher Columbus, however you want to call him, all right, came over here to the Americas. All right, he didn't put his sword down. They raped, robbed, and pillaged our people. All right, the Northern tribes. All right, starting with Gad, which is the Native Americans. You know, they declared war on the Lord's people, man. So they gotta get killed with the sword. All right, and what's the modern day sword? Is the gun. All right, their nuclear capabilities. And so on and so forth. And this is how the so-called white man killed with the sword. So it says, "He that killeth with the sword must be killed must be killed with the sword." All right. Excuse me. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. All right, and to be patient mean to suffer, and that's what we're doing. We patiently waiting. We suffering this captivity that we in Babylon, which is America, under our enemies. You know, the oppression of our people. We got to watch this devil um and our people break the laws of the Most High continually, blaspheme the Most High, X out Yahweh Shah and his ways. You know, this is what we suffering. But the prophecy says they got to pay for that because they led us into captivity, so they gonna go into captivity. It says, "Here's the patience and the faith of the saints." All right, and the saints are Israelites. All right, another scripture. This is I believe it's in Jeremiah 30. No, okay. This is Jeremiah 30 and verse 16. It says, "Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured." All right, and on thy adversaries. When you go to Psalms 83, it tell you that our enemies make a tumult, and it breaks down all. Matter of fact, I get it, and I jump back to that. This is Psalms, the 83rd chapter. And I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, keep not thou silent, O most high. Hold not thy peace, and be still, O power. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So these other nations hate us, man. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. All right, when they in the UN meetings, all right, when they at the they summit meetings and so on and so forth, when they up in the Bohemian Grove, you know, they plotting against the Israelites. That's why it's not a seat for you so-called Black Latinos and Native Americans at the UN, you know, or at any prestige high up positions. We don't have no military. We don't have no army here. Our people was robbed and spoiled, man. It says they have taken crafty counsel against our hidden ones and consulted against our people and consulted against our hidden ones. They have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." Yeah, that's why they call us black or Spanish, all right, or Latino, or all these proverbs and bywords, all right, Jamaican and Trinidadian, and you know, West Indian. No, we Israel, we Yasharalo, we're princes of the power, all right, and they know that when we come together and be drinking with our power, there's nothing they could do with us. So that's why they take that crafty counsel against us. They have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation." That's what they got. It's called. It's a term called divide and conquer. All right. They I read the last scripture. They brought us into captivity. A lot of the Benjamites fell on the Western Islands, West Indies, as they call it. You know, Judah over here in America. The northern tribes already over here. You know, but then they give us like you got Puerto Rico, uh, all these different flags and names that they put on us when we all Israel from prospective tribes, tribe of Benjamin, tribe of Levi, tribe of Gad, tribe of Judah, and so on and so forth. It says, "For they have consulted together with one consent," so they all in agreement. They are confederate against thee, and it's gonna tell you who. The tabernacles of Edom, that's the so-called white man. The Ishmaelites, the Arabs, Moab, the so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, Ammon, all right, so-called Japanese, and Amalek, all right. So it's showing you that that's why you think. Oh, why you think you go to Delhi, there's an Arab all in it, and all through. I'm in New York, all throughout New York, all right. Moab, all types of laundry stores and Chinese food stores. They got Chinatowns, you know. Cause they all in one consent, so they got a piece of the devil's pie. Because when you go to Job 9:24, the scriptures say that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. So these devils has full control of the earth right now, you know. And these other nations is embedded with the so-called white men, you know. So I'm gonna jump back. Those are our enemies, man. These other nations, as well as and our chief enemies, the so-called white men. This is Jeremiah 30 and 6, back at 16. It says, "Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them." And what's an adversary? Someone that's against you. You know? It says, "And all thy adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity." That's right. It said, and that's going back into slavery. That's slavery, all right? "And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil." All right? "And all they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey." Yeah, and these nations prey upon us continually. You know, hurry up and buy. You know, landlords raising the rent. You know, they consume. They take from us because you know Jake is the ultimate consumer. You know, It says, "For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds," saith the Lord. Because they called thee an outcast. Yeah, they got us in the ghettos. The other nations look down upon us. They look at us like we ain't shit. Just come buy what you need from us. Cause we go to our enemies for the win all things and keep it moving, nigga. That's how they look at you. You come in these stores, they watching you on the camera. What this nigga up to? You know? And it's our people fault too, cause they got a bad rap. Cause Jake is in poverty, so Jake is still and just act like monkeys. But for the ones that's kind of decent, there's a stigma on them as well. But ultimately it's because they hate us anyway. You know, saying this is Zion whom no man looketh after. So the judgment for you other nations is slavery, man, hardcore bondage. All right. This is Revelation 2 and verse 25. And it reads, "But that which you have already hold fast till I come." And what we have is this truth, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that was given to us through Yahweh Bashim Yahushua by the shedding of his blood, when he went on that cross and he died for the nation of Israel, starting with the elect. So the Lord, this is it. This is the man speaking himself. This is our King speaking. He said, "But that which you have already, which is the truth, hold fast till I come." All right. It says, "And he that overcometh and keepeth my works." All right. And when they say keepeth, you got to meaning God to keep this truth. We got to be defenders of the gospel, because there's a lot of vain imaginations going on out here. There's a lot of false philosophies out here. So we got to defend His word, man. We got to defend the words of Yahweh Bashim Shah. Yahweh Shah is the word. He come in the volume of the book. It says, "But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come." Because hey, it's showing that the Lord is on his way back, man. Hold fast till he come. The Lord is coming, man. He almost here. You know? Keep your integrity. It says, "And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end." So we gotta overcome all these trials, tribulations, the hell that we catching, you know, on a daily. To him will I give power over the nations. Going into the other nations, the Lord said He's gonna give us power over them, man. And He shall rule them with a rod of iron. All right? That's hardcore bondage. That's slavery. As the vessels of powder shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father. Because Yahweh Shah got the scriptures tell you that all power was given unto him, you know? And his father said, "Ask of me, and I will give you the heathen for thy inheritance." So these guys is our property, you know? These is our property. A bunch of slaves on the loose right now, thinking that they over you and better than you. But the Lord is about to flip that around. Scripture say, every one of them shall go into captivity, especially you so-called white men. You so-called white people, man, you Edomites are, yeah, you're not going unpunished, man. Scriptures talk about it's Isaiah 14 and 21. It says, "Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquities of their fathers." You know? I got another scripture just popped in my head. This is Psalms 149 and verse. I'm gonna start at the top. It says, "Praise ye the Lord, sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise in the congregation of saints. Let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in their king." All right. It says, "Let them praise his name in the dance. Let them sing praises unto him with the timbrel and the harp." Excuse me. "For the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, taketh pleasure in his people." All right. His people, the so called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, nobody else. Salvation is for the Israelites only. Matthew 1 and verse 1, I believe. Let me get that real quick. Oh no, 1 and verse 21. Slakia. This is Matthew 1 and 21. "And she shall bring forth a son that she is married, Yahweh's mother, and thou shalt call his name." It says Jesus in the English, but you go to the Paleo Hebrews, Yahweh. All right. It says, "For he shall save his people," possessive pronoun, "from their sins." All right. What is sin? Transgression of the law. All right. The laws is only given to Israel. You know. So it said, "He shall save his people from their sins." You know, and it say the whole world. So what was our Psalms 149? And I'll wrap it up. This is a quick lesson. This is Psalms 149. Shalakia. And verse 4 again. For the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahshua take a pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek, all right, with salvation. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing loud upon their beds. And that's going to be literal in the kingdom. We're going to be singing loud upon our beds, all right? Thanking the Lord, man, for deliverance. Lord willing, I'm a part of the elect. You know, ultimately, all Israel going to come back to the Lord anyway. So we're going to be in the kingdom rejoicing because we back on top. You know, that the disciples asked the Lord, will you yet restore the nation of Israel? You know, and going back to what? Its former glory when when all the nations was under us and they feared us. Deuteronomy 7:6, thou art holy people above all nations upon the face of the earth, man. So it says, let the saints be joyful in glory, let them sing loud up, let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. That's literal. All right? That's what's coming. To execute vengeance upon the heathen. Who's the heathen? These other nations. All right? And punishments upon the people. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. What does that sound like? How can you Christians get around that? What is that talking about, vocab? There's no getting around that. It says to bind their kings with chains. All right? And their nobles with fetters of iron. To execute upon them the judgment is written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord. And I just read some of the judgments written. They're gonna go into captivity. All right, all our adversaries, every one of them, you know, and so on and so forth. The Lord said, "Ask of him, he gonna give you the heathen for thy inheritance." If we keep this word, the Lord gonna give us power over the nations. You know, I'm leave it with this one. Deuteronomy 30 and verse 7. And the Lord thy and we spoke about that. I'm gonna read it. Salakia. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies. Psalms 83. All right. And on them that hate thee, Psalms 83, which is these other nations, the heathen, you know, which persecuted thee, who's persecuting us, the Lord is gonna put it upon them. You know, all the curses that we suffer. It says, curse shall I be in the city, curse shall I be in the field, you know. your your eye being evil towards your brother, all that's is going before the so-called white man chiefly and the other nations and the kingdom to come. This place is going down, man. And America is here, you know. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom.